Did you know that most of what we think of as human nature or even personal choice is really just invisible social pressure built up over centuries?
It's a startling thought, isn't it?
Here are the most game-changing insights from the essay Practical Wisdom that could transform how you think and act.
And just so you know, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
Today, we're looking at Mortimer Adler's essay on custom and convention. The mission here is to figure out why we follow all these rules, and maybe whether those rules are even real.
It's an unsettling read. Adler basically hands you a pair of X-ray glasses to look at the architecture of your own life.
And what you see is that we're all running on scripts we never stopped to read.
And we definitely never asked who wrote them.
So let's ground this. The title is Custom and Convention. I have to admit, I'd probably use those words interchangeably. It's customary or this convention. What's the real difference Adler is getting at?
Well, that distinction is the first major key. They feel similar because they both apply pressure on us, but where they come from is totally different.
Okay.
Convention is explicit. It's an agreement. We all agreed, for instance, to drive on the right side of the road. It's a contract.
So convention is the official rule book.
Exactly. But custom, that's different. Custom is the silent accumulation of habit. It's not a contract. It's just repetition.
You don't shake hands because you signed a treaty.
Right. You do it because your father did it and his father before him. It feels voluntary, but Adler says it's actually a kind of social compulsion.
One is a law we write, the other is a habit we inherit. That leads right into this huge historical argument the essay mentions.
Yeah.
Something the Greeks debated about nature versus agreement.
Yes, this was an obsession for the sophists. They looked around at their society, at their rules, and asked a fundamental question.
Which was?
Is all this structure biological, like gravity,
Right.
or did we just make it all up?
That feels like a dangerous question to ask. Because if you realize your government or your family structure isn't natural, like a tree,
Yeah.
but just a decision people made,
Then means you can unmake it. You can break it.
and that would have terrified people.
It still does. If it's just a convention, it's fragile. Think of it as the difference between, say, gravity and a speed limit.
Gravity is nature. You can't argue with it.
But the speed limit is a convention. We can vote to change it tomorrow. The problem is we often confuse the two. We act like the speed limit has the same force as gravity.
And this is where Aristotle comes in. He said customs become a kind of second nature.
Right. Through habituation, we get so used to the custom, so conditioned by it, that we completely forget it was ever a choice. We start treating the rule as if it were a law of physics.
Which brings us to the really big metaphor, Plato's allegory of the cave.
It's the perfect image for this. Adler suggests that those unquestioned customs, they're the chains.
And if you never ask why do we do this, you're just staring at shadows on the wall.
Mistaking social pressure for fundamental reality, it creates what he calls a tyranny of the unexamined. We follow the herd not because it's logical, but because we're afraid of being the outsider.
It's so much easier to just watch the shadows than to turn around and face the fire. It takes real mental effort to break out of that autopilot.
It really does. It requires active, rational friction against your own habits.
Speaking of building that mental friction, you should check out our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments. It offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques, all designed to inspire reflection and rational thought.
A great tool. And we need those tools because, and this is a critical pivot in the essay, just breaking all the customs isn't always the right answer. Adler brings in Jean-Jacques Rousseau to make this point.
Rousseau. Isn't he usually the burn it all down, civilization is corrupt guy?
He certainly believed many social conventions corrupt our natural goodness. But the essay balances this idea. Customs can also be repositories of wisdom.
Right, the old saying, don't tear down a fence until you know why it was put up in the first place.
Exactly. If we just scrapped every convention to go back to nature, we'd lose thousands of years of accumulated lessons on how to cooperate. The challenge isn't just to be a rebel.
It's to have discernment.
Yes, to figure out which custom is a wise guardrail and which one is just a rusty chain holding you back.
It's all about being awake at the wheel, knowing the difference between the law of gravity and the speed limit.
And realizing that while you can't change gravity, you can absolutely advocate to change the limit.
So let's leave you with this thought. Identify one rule you follow every single day, just one, and ask yourself a simple question. Is this nature, or is it just a convention you never actually agreed to?
And that question, that's the first step out of the cave.
Click the link on screen for the in-depth book Essential Ideas. Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think rationally.
See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go.